Hey look, it's the GoPro Hero Fusion, GoPro's very first foray into the 360 camera market. Now, this was not a cheap camera. I mean, it had 2 lenses, 2 recording units inside, it took 2 SD cards for crying out loud, so it was pretty much twice the price of a regular GoPro as a result. However, it offered the future of recording. You'd be able to use this camera to record, well, everything, and then reframe your shots afterwards any way that you wanted to. So no more worrying about whether or not you were framed properly in the shot. You could be shooting a selfie or you could be filming what was in front of you, because technically you were recording both at the same time. This camera promised the future. Only what you really got was a camera without any stabilization built in, hours of waiting for those 2 separate video files to be painstakingly stitched together into one 360 video, buggy desktop software that was prone to crashing, and within 2 years GoPro basically killed off this camera and decided to stop supporting it altogether. So this GoPro is now obviously nothing more than an expensive paperweight. Or is it? Hey there, welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you tuning in. And in this video, we're going to be looking at the GoPro Hero Fusion and how you can use it to update Google Street View. Now, while this isn't exactly a new trick you can do with the Fusion, doing it before was extremely tricky and required you to use third-party software. Thankfully, now it's a heck of a lot easier to do, and we're going to cover how to in this video. Also, I'm going to include some very useful bonus tips at the end of this video, so stick around for those. I guarantee you it's worth it. Now, before we begin, I'm going to ask you to do a small little thing, and you know what this is. It's click on those like and subscribe buttons down below. That's it. Doesn't cost you a penny to do so, and it really does help out with this channel. This is a non-sponsored channel. I create all of these videos at my own expense, and clicking like and subscribe, well, you really do help out with this channel, all at no cost to you. So go ahead, click those like and subscribe buttons, and let the world know you're an awesome person. Okay, on with the video. So when the GoPro Hero Fusion was released, it was a revolutionary camera, there's no doubt about that. However, it wasn't a cheap camera by any means. Also, the firmware had some issues. The software used to stitch the footage together was slow and unstable, and due to support being dropped so quickly, many of the issues with this camera were unresolved. Nowadays, the Windows software is still buggy and prone to crashing unless you go into Task Manager, set the affinity to just 2 processors, and if you're using the latest Mac software, well, you're really out of luck there, as the software just won't work now, as GoPro officially stopped supporting the GoPro Fusion Studio quite some time ago. However, I think I read somewhere that an older version of GoPro Fusion Studio may still work on your Mac, so check that out. So, if you're a GoPro Fusion owner, your best bet at this stage is to either throw this camera in the bin or sell it online as quickly as possible to some sucker who'll buy it. If you're in the market for a 360 camera and see a GoPro Fusion online for sale for a really cheap price or even for free, run. Run far away from that camera. Do not look back. Seriously though, why would anyone want to buy a camera that still has unresolved firmware issues, requires desktop software to process the image, and there's no desktop software available, and has just very limited app support? It just doesn't make any sense to do so. However, if you're a GoPro Fusion owner like me, there's still an awesome trick left up this camera's sleeve, and that's the ability to update Google Street View using this camera. So how do you go about doing this? Well, thankfully it's now quite easy to do, and we're going to look at doing that. What we're going to do is we're going to take our GoPro Fusion and place it on top of our car using a strong magnetic mount that doesn't come off. Here's the custom mount that I created for my GoPro Fusion. It uses 2 40-pound pole rare earth magnets in this dual mount configuration. This thing is rock steady and it ain't going nowhere. So I'll put a link to those magnetic mounts up above and a link to these frame supports I used to create the whole thing. So what we're going to do in this case is we're going to record at the highest resolution possible. So in the case of the GoPro Hero Fusion, that's 5.6K at 24 frames per second. By the way, if you own a GoPro Fusion and the highest resolution you get is 5.2K 30 frames per second, that's because you're running the last official firmware from GoPro. And I'm running a beta firmware that was released in, I think it was about 2019, around the New Year time frame. So you can hunt around for that online if you want. It should be beta firmware 2.0. However, don't worry about it if you can only do 5.2K. That'll work, it's just fine. And I'll explain why in a few minutes. After you finish recording, go boot up your GoPro Fusion Studio on your laptop or PC. Take the SD cards out of your camera and copy your files across your laptop or PC. Now, quick note, if you're wondering why I'm doing this instead of just connecting via USB cable, you can watch my very first video which explains why it's much better to do this workflow. The quick version is that it's much faster when it comes to rendering and stitching your footage. Also, since stitching takes ages, you can still be using your camera for other uses while your footage is stitching in Fusion Studio. Believe me, it's just a much better optimal workflow. Now that we're in Fusion Studio, select the footage you want to upload to Google Street View. I usually cut off the start where I'm setting up the camera, getting into the car. I also cut off the end where I'm pulling up to my driveway or sitting in my car for a while. All you really want in that footage is, well, views of the streets. So once you have that done, you want to click on the Render tab in Fusion Studio. What you want to do is make sure that you've clicked on H.264 as your output. Now, as you know, H.264 has a maximum resolution of 4K, and that's why earlier I said it won't really matter if you record in 5.2K or 5.6K, as your output is going to be downscaled to 4K when you select H.264 as your output. So why choose H.264? Well, there's two reasons. Google Street View seems to like that format. I mean, I've tried other format options and Google just didn't seem to want to be compatible with those formats. So you kind of don't have a choice in that one. And the second reason is when you export at H.264, your file size is actually quite small. For a 9-minute car drive, you're looking at about 1.6 gigabytes. Whereas if you use Cineform as your output, you have a file size of about 26 gigabytes. And if you choose ProRes, you're looking at 50 gigabyte file sizes for that same drive. It's one thing to render out a file that size, but you don't want to have to wait for hours for that file to upload. On top of that, Google is going to have to process the file you've uploaded, and a 50 gig file is going to take quite some time. So having a 1.6 gigabyte file size, your upload is actually going to be pretty quick, and processing will hopefully be quick too. So hit that H.264 option and then just hit render. Now, word of warning, due to the fact that GoPro Studio has a few bugs, if you're rendering a large file, you may find that GoPro Fusion Studio will just crash for no good reason. So if that happens to you, here's a link to the workaround to stop that from happening. This is actually my very first DemonView upload back in 2019, and this video started it all. So go check that out if you need to stop GoPro Fusion Studio from crashing on your PC. Okay, so now that you've rendered out your video clip, let's take the next step. You'll want to open up your web browser and go to https://streetviewstudio.maps.google.com. You'll then need to log in with your Google account and you should see the following screen. Just click on Upload and a dialog box will pop up giving you the option to select your 360 file. Use that option to select your rendered 360 file and that is it. You can start uploading your rendered 360 files to Google Street View. That's it. That's all you have to do. No third-party software required, just record, render and upload. If you have another brand of 360 camera, then you can try this out for yourself. You just need to ensure that your video has GPS data in it. So if you're recording using an Insta360, this means that you either have to have a GPS remote or that you leave your phone connected to the app while recording so that GPS is embedded into the video. Now, for those tips I promised you, and these are something you'll want to pay attention to, so here they are. 1. Stitching on your GoPro Fusion Studio takes ages. Even with other 360 cameras, you may still have to render that footage out to 360, decompress it from whatever the camera format is, and that can take quite a while. So the best thing to do is queue up all that footage you need to render or stitch and let your PC or laptop do that overnight. While you're getting your 8 hours sleep, let your PC be working away rendering that footage. Having it do the work during your downtime is the best thing you can do. Tip number 2, Google can't actually have their mapping cars everywhere at once, so they actually appreciate you taking the time to upload your imagery to Google Street View. Unlike Google Street Mapping cars, which have a very complicated camera system, the cars are all a specific make, model and size, and users' vehicles can be different size, shapes, models, etc. Now, why is that important? Well, it means that when your footage is uploaded, your roof and car hood are going to be in that final Street View shot, so take advantage of that. Put your website address or YouTube user account name on those nice blank spaces. Providing it's not too objectionable and it doesn't take up too much space, Google seems to be pretty good at allowing that. Now, it may change, but in the meantime, you can potentially have your YouTube channel or website advertised to the millions of people that use Google Street View. Tip number 3, check your Gmail account. Because you started uploading footage to Google Street View, Google do actually have a rewards program for contributors. If you've ever reviewed anything on Google, use the same account to tie all those rewards together. They start off small, a few discount vouchers here and there, but the more you contribute, the more rewards you get. So, hey, not a bad way to have a side hustle. And tip number 4, since you've just rendered out a 360 view of wherever it is that you've driven, you might as well upload that to YouTube while you're at it. People like to watch 360 videos, and since you've already recorded and rendered one, you might as well upload it to YouTube too. I mean, have it as a nice little back burner file that earns you likes and views. And there you have it, how to use your GoPro Fusion or other 360 camera to update Google Street Maps, and how to make it work to your advantage. Now, it will probably take about 48 hours for your imagery to process at Google before it's visible, but once it is, you can tell your friends and family to go check out some of that footage that you've uploaded. Well, if you like this video, learned something new from it, please remember to help this channel out by clicking those like and subscribe buttons. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it's a great way to give back. So until next time, cheerio. And you know, I just had a great idea. I wonder if I can use this to pull off an April Fool's joke on Google Street View. Stay tuned. And one more tip, wash your car before you upload it to Google Maps. I mean, seriously.